thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you for your comments, Bob. I have long felt like nobody has won in any of this. It has never felt like a win. I think I've personally learned a lot of lessons. And one thing that you said that I really appreciated when we sat in my office with you, me, Commissioner Frower, and we had Chair White on the phone, was that you felt like you were backed in a corner because of the timelines around the funding. And I felt the same way. I've often felt backed into a corner. And nobody wins when partners both feel backed into a corner. The circumstances just have not been good for any of us. It's just been the hardest project of all of them. And honestly, we've worked really well with the county in a lot of projects. And I do think that we have a lot to be proud of in that regard. But this project has presented the most challenging circumstances of them all. And I certainly had some realizations along the way, such as who do I communicate with at the Housing Authority? And I can say that there was some honest miscommunications because we weren't communicating with the right people at the right times. As I reflect on that, there's an honest reason for it. The Weaver Housing Authority used to be associated with the county. And on January 1st, that changed. I didn't know that. I'd heard talk about it, but that probably changes who to communicate with, who the principals are, and how the communication on their side is working. There's no ill will in that. Things changed, and I didn't know. And it was actually a comment that Councilmember Traburka made to me that made me wonder, that helped me get to the bottom of that. And so, as it relates to the legislation, I actually was really communicative with the member of the board of the Housing Authority about it, because I was asked and presented with three options, as I've said repeatedly, by the board chair of the Housing Authority. And that one of those options was for us to purchase the property and help make the Housing Authority whole in so doing. And I said, that's something I'm willing to look into and work on, because I think that it's important that the Housing Authority remains whole. And I said that it's important that we have some assurances that we're not going to be in this position anymore, and that I'd like that assurance to be as strong as possible. And I remember walking out of that meeting with one of the board members, and we thought that was a reasonable thing. And so when Representative Wilcox reached out to me, because he had opened a bill file that I didn't realize, based on input that he had heard from members in the community in that neighborhood, not because I asked him to, and he asked for my input, and I was happy to provide it. And I thought that I did it in good faith and in transparency and communication with the Housing Authority at the time. What people don't realize is that I go through great lengths to respect boundaries. I go to great lengths to respect the boundaries of this council, because I've been on the council before, and I want them to have their autonomy. I think it's important. I think they appreciate that. It makes some things harder, I'll admit, but it's better this way. And it's important that we do the same for the legislature. There's also laws that I am mindful of when it comes to working with the legislature, and it's not my bill file to share. For me to have shared it before it was made public would be a breach of the law. I'm not going to do that. But I thought I was being transparent and communicative with the Housing Authority at the time. Turns out, for honest reasons, that didn't turn out to be the case, and for that, I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry for taking steps to protect our city, especially when I felt like I was backed into a corner, and I'm really glad we don't feel that way anymore. And I'm really glad that we had a good talk, and we had a hard talk and a good talk, and we landed in a good place. It's not ideal for anybody. Nobody wins. But it was so helpful that Bob Hunter called everybody to the table and said, what are we going to do? So Bob, thank you for that. We needed it. Because we are good people that do have good hearts. Ogden City has Lantern House, St. Anne's. We support the biggest homeless advocate group in outreach and engagement in the state of Utah. We are just this week fielded numerous questions from out of state cities asking for input on our approach because they want to replicate it outside the state as well. We do it on the police side and on the fire side. No one else does that. We support shelters for victims of domestic abuse. We support a shelter for youth. We support a shelter for veterans. Ogden City does a lot and will continue to. We also support somewhere around 85% of all of the deeply subsidized housing units in the entire county, even though we're 34% of the county population. Ogden City does its share and more, and we will continue to. There is more that we will do. That I commit. In fact, during this project, we celebrated 56 people that were housed under a project that we helped and participated in through the Ogden Housing Authority, and we'll continue to do that. We're pursuing a second phase, in fact. So to say that we don't care or we don't do anything is false. It's wrong. It's just wrong. Now, we also have other policies in our city that and approaches that we take, and that this project has always been contradictory to. And I can't undo all of the past. We can only fix how we move forward. And so I really am thankful that the council has stuck in there and said, well, they don't want the housing authority to not be whole either. And because moving forward, we need the Weber Housing Authority, and we need the Ogden Housing Authority, and we need the relationship with the county, and we need the relationships with all the nonprofits, because we have a county-wide challenge, not just a city challenge. We have a county-wide challenge to house people. And it is our desire to see the county, all of the county, not the county commission or the county government, all of the cities and partners in all of Weber County across the board participating and helping to resolve it. I'm glad we were able to step up, provide the code blue. I wish it hadn't been late, but we were hoping that we would have some help from others. We didn't get it. From other cities, we didn't get it. So we stepped up again. And we'll continue to step up when no one else will. But until others step up, there are times that we just have to, I don't know, put our foot down, I guess, but it sure doesn't feel like a win. It only feels like a loss for everybody. And for that, I wish we could go back in time, apparently 5 years in time. But anyway, we're all here doing our best, regardless of what people call us, regardless of the names, regardless of the attacks, regardless of the friends that say and do things that are personal, demeaning, and hurtful. Yet we arrive, we show up, we do what we came here to do. We do the right things and for the right reasons, and we do them in the right ways, even though sometimes we're human, sometimes we're fallible. But I sleep well at night knowing that I operate in a way that is ethical, operate within the bounds of the law, no doubt. You can accuse me of whatever you want. Just because you say it doesn't make it true. But I will always stand up for Ogden, and I always want to do it standing with partners when I can. And we have done it time and time and time again, and even more. And this time it was even harder, and moving forward we're going to. And I'm glad that we are not in the position that we were, and I'm thankful to Bob for helping to make that happen.